You are not thinking, not really. You are consuming. Consuming opinions, consuming headlines, consuming endless fragments of other people's thoughts. You scroll, you swipe, you react, but rarely do you stop. Rarely do you sit in silence. Hold an idea in your mind, but turn it over, examine it, challenge it, expand it. Rarely do you give a thought enough time to become your own. Because thinking, real thinking, is slow. It's uncomfortable. It demands patience. It demands solitude. It demands the courage to sit with confusion and not immediately flee to certainty. But the world you live in isn't built for thinking. It's built for consuming. Quick takes, hot takes, bite-sized opinions, instant outrage, constant stimulation. You are fed 1,000 conclusions, but starved of the questions that matter. You are bombarded with answers, but rarely invited to ask. You are rewarded for reacting faster, not for thinking deeper. And over time, your mind adapts. It grows impatient with ambiguity. It grows allergic to complexity. It craves simplicity, speed, certainty, no matter how shallow. You start mistaking consumption for comprehension, reaction for reflection, noise for thought, until eventually you forget what thinking even feels like. You forget the slow, sacred rhythm of wrestling with an idea. You forget the joy of connecting seemingly unrelated dots. You forget the quiet pleasure of building your own understanding, piece by fragile piece. You forget the freedom that comes from owning your mind. Because if you cannot think for yourself, you cannot live for yourself. And here lies the quiet tragedy. You have been trained to call it thinking. You are living in a world that has monetized your attention, fragmented your focus, and fed your brain a diet of sugar-coated certainties. Real thinking is not profitable. It is not viral. It is not convenient. It happens off-screen, in silence, in long, slow moments when you are truly alone with your own mind. And that is why the system keeps you scrolling, because the moment you pause, the moment you reflect, the moment you begin to think deeply, you begin to remember who you are. And remembering is dangerous because a thinking mind is a free mind. A dangerous mind. A mind that doesn't obey algorithms, trends, or outrage. You are not thinking, but you could be. And the return to thought begins with a single act of rebellion. Silence. Real thinking is dangerous. It disrupts the patterns you were trained to accept. It threatens the narratives you were taught to obey. It challenges the easy answers that comfort you, the simple identities that define you. Real thinking is not passive. It is active. It questions. It dissects. It doubts. It rebels. It refuses to inherit conclusions. It insists on earning clarity through discomfort. It demands that you tear apart what you've been given and rebuild it with your own hands, your own wounds, your own mind. And this is why real thinking is discouraged, not through explicit command, but through distraction, through overstimulation, through the endless flooding of your senses with shallow urgency, emotional manipulation, and engineered outrage. Because a mind that is always busy reacting never has time to reflect. A mind that is always occupied can be easily controlled, not through violence, but through fatigue. Tired minds don't think. They comply. They consume. They conform. This is not an accident. It is a design, a feature. The architecture of modern distraction is deliberate, not built to enslave your body, but to colonize your attention. Because whoever controls your attention controls your narrative, and whoever controls your narrative controls your life. This is why your deepest work is not just external success. It is the inner, invisible revolution of reclaiming your attention, of remembering that your mind was not made for obedience, but for insight. It begins with slowing down, when everything screams at you to speed up. It begins with choosing stillness, when every feed demands reaction. It begins with enduring boredom, confusion, and silence, until your own thoughts reemerge from the noise. Beneath the algorithms, beneath the outrage, beneath the dopamine loops and filtered reality, there is still a mind, a sleeping mind, a sovereign mind. It is not dead, only dormant. And waking it will feel unnatural. It will sting, like a limb that's fallen asleep. It will tingle, it will ache, it will resist. But it is also the beginning of something holy. Freedom. Because a mind that can think deeply, that can question bravely, that can endure silence, is a mind that cannot be colonized, cannot be bought, cannot be broken. It is not just awake, it is free. Deep thinking is a rebellion. It is a refusal to live at the surface of life. It is a conscious choice to resist being swept away by the current of noise, distraction, and passive consumption. It is the art of slowing down, of sitting with discomfort, of asking questions without rushing to answers, of letting uncertainty breathe instead of suffocating it with immediate opinions. It is the courage to doubt what you are told, to examine what you believe, to test what you assume, to strip away everything that feels safe but untrue. Because deep thinking does not flatter your ego. It humbles it. It reveals how much you don't know, how much you haven't questioned, how easily you have been shaped by forces you didn't even notice. Deep thinking dismantles illusions, illusions about yourself, illusions about the world, illusions about what truly matters. And this dismantling is not comfortable. It feels like losing your footing. It feels like losing your certainty. It feels like losing yourself. But in truth, you are not losing yourself. You are shedding what was never truly yours. You are peeling away the layers of conditioning, assumption, and imitation to uncover the raw, unedited reality beneath. And in that reality, you find something precious. You find space. Space to choose, space to change, space to think, not reactively, but reflectively, space to live, not automatically, but deliberately, space to build a life not out of habit, but out of intention. Because only when you reclaim the depth of your mind can you reclaim the depth of your life. A shallow mind produces a shallow life. A distracted mind produces a distracted life. A reactive mind produces a reactive life. But a deep mind, a mind trained to endure ambiguity, to dance with complexity, to sit with silence, produces a life of substance, a life of clarity, a life of resilience, a life of meaning. The world doesn't just need more knowledge. It needs more wisdom. It doesn't just need louder voices. It needs quieter minds. It doesn't just need progress. It needs presence. And that's what deep thinkers bring. Because while the world drowns in noise, it starves for depth. It floods with reaction, but thirsts for reflection. It accelerates endlessly, but aches for stillness. And the ones who can slow down, who can think deeply, who can live deliberately, will be the ones who light the way, not by shouting louder, but by standing still long enough for the truth to find them. The greatest danger of living without deep thought is not just that you miss out on wisdom, it's that you become easy to control. Because if you cannot think critically, you will believe what is convenient, you will obey what is expected, you will consume what is offered. Without thinking, you're not choosing your life, you are having it chosen for you. You are not living, you are being lived, and the tragedy is that you might not even notice. Because the world rewards conformity, it applauds compliance, it celebrates the loud, the reactive, the shallow, and if you move fast enough, if you stay busy enough, if you react quickly enough, you can numb the ache inside. The ache that comes from living a life that isn't truly yours. You can silence the question that haunts you in rare, quiet moments. Is this it? Is this all there is? But deep down, you know the answer. You know there is more. Not more achievement, not more consumption, more life, more presence, more meaning. But you cannot find it at the speed you are moving. You cannot discover it while drowning in noise. You cannot stumble into it while living reactively. You must slow down. You must endure the discomfort of silence. You must resist the seductive pull of the endless scroll, the endless feed, the endless chase. Because everything in the modern world is designed to keep you moving, consuming, reacting, not thinking, not reflecting, not being. It is not accidental, it is profitable. Because a distracted mind is a predictable customer. A reactive life is an obedient one, and obedience cloaked as freedom is the most effective kind of control. If you don't consciously choose to resist, you will unconsciously choose to comply. You will live shallowly because you thought shallowly. You will drift because you refuse to anchor. You will survive because you forgot how to live. But it doesn't have to be this way. Not if you choose to wake up. Not if you choose to think. Not if you choose to reclaim the ancient, radical, sacred art of living with awareness. Because the life you long for, a life of depth, of meaning, of authenticity, is not out there, waiting in some distant future. It is here, now, beneath the noise, beneath the distractions, beneath the numbing rush of modern life. It has been waiting for you to remember, to slow down, to come home, to yourself. Waking up is not glamorous. It is not clean. It is not comfortable. It is messy, disorienting, painful. Because when you slow down, when you stop running, you are forced to face what you've been running from. You must face the noise inside you, the restless craving for stimulation, the emptiness masked by endless consumption, the confusion hidden beneath the illusion of certainty. And most terrifying of all, you must face yourself, not the curated self polished for applause, not the mask you wear to survive, but the self that still aches for meaning, for connection, for something real. This confrontation will not feel noble. It will feel like grief. Grief for the time wasted chasing illusions. Grief for the silence you never gave yourself. Grief for the life half-lived while performing instead of being. Grief for the parts of you that were left behind, not because they weren't worthy, but because they weren't convenient. But grief is not your enemy. Grief is a doorway. It is the price of remembering. It is the pain that says, you are still alive, and it's not too late. Because no matter how far you've drifted, no matter how entangled you've become in noise and narrative, You can wake up, you can remember, you can return, you can rebuild your capacity for deep thought, for slow reflection, for deliberate living, not all at once, not without stumbles, but step by step, thought by thought, choice by choice. You can starve the addiction to speed and surface. You can rewire your mind for presence. You can reclaim the slow, sacred art of thinking, and in doing so, you reclaim more than your mind. You reclaim your life, because to think deeply is not just an intellectual act, it is an existential defiance. It is a refusal to let your life be dictated by algorithms, by urgency, by curated distractions. It is saying, my life will not be automated. My attention will not be sold. My existence will not be reduced to noise. It is a declaration that you will live with awareness, with intention, with meaning, and that kind of freedom. The kind born of inner clarity and sacred resistance can never be given to you. It must be claimed, and once claimed, it can never be taken away. Deep thinking is not safe. It is not efficient. It will not make you instantly productive, instantly successful, instantly admired. It will complicate your life. It will disturb your certainty. It will force you to see the cracks in the systems you were told to trust. The systems outside you, and the systems within you. And once you see, you cannot unsee. You cannot return to sleep once you have tasted awareness. But awareness comes with a cost. The cost is discomfort. The cost is doubt. The cost is facing failure. Not as a mistake, but as a necessary step in waking up. Because deep thinking leads you to uncomfortable questions. Questions that dismantle easy narratives. Questions that threaten neat answers. Questions that force you to live, not just survive. And living fully means failing fully. It means risking real effort, not just rehearsed performance. It means stepping beyond consumption into creation. And creation is never tidy, never perfect, never guaranteed. When you think deeply, you realize failure is not the enemy. Failure is the evidence. The evidence that you are no longer just a passive receiver of life, no longer a puppet dancing on invisible strings. Failure means you are experimenting. Failure means you are engaging. Failure means you are alive. So the shallow life seeks safety through conformity. The deep life embraces uncertainty through exploration. And exploration, real exploration, means falling again and again. But in those falls, in those fractures, something extraordinary happens. You build resilience. You cultivate courage. You forge meaning. Because meaning is never found at the surface. It is not handed to you by the noise. It is carved painfully and beautifully in the depths. And here's the deeper truth. The life you long for, the life of depth, authenticity, and freedom, is not a straight line. It is a spiral of descent and return, failure and learning, forgetting and remembering. And the real question is not whether you will fall. You will. The question is, will you dare to rise differently each time? Because if you do, if you see failure not as shame but as signal, you will realize something profound. Failure is not a detour from your path. It is the path. And that is where we are headed next. In the next video, we will dismantle the myth of success and reveal why true progress often wears the mask of failure. We will explore why every collapse, every stumble, every seeming defeat is a hidden invitation to build something stronger than ever before. But first, let me leave you with this. Are you brave enough to let failure reshape you? Or will you keep chasing a version of yourself that was never meant to survive?